Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to the AEW Dynamite review. And on Dynamite tonight, it was night 2 of New Year's Smash. And I gotta say, it was a good show. It was a very good show tonight, and a good conclusion to New Year's Smash. But tonight we saw Pac versus Eddie Kingston, Miro versus Chuck Taylor, Chucky T. If Chucky T end up losing, he would have to be Miro's butler and do whatever Miro tells him to do until Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford's wedding. We saw the Elite versus the Varsity Blondes and Danny Limelight. FTR ended up taking on the Jurassic Express. The NWA Women's World Championship was on the line. Serena Deeb defended it against Tyconti. We had the Inner Circle announce their New Year's resolutions. And in the main event, we saw Darby Allin versus Brian Cage for the TNT Championship. And then we had Britt Baker's The Waiting Room, which made its Dynamite debut, which the first time that The Waiting Room with Britt Baker was done was on AEW Dark. And I'll get to explaining when I talk about that. Because my God, that segment. But overall, it was a good show to night 2 of New Year's Smash on Dynamite. So let's get right into the review. So night 2 of New Year's Smash on Dynamite opened up with Pac versus Eddie Kingston. Pac came out alongside Rey Fenix and Penta El Zero Miedo. Of course, Eddie Kingston came out alongside the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny, aka Ali. This was a very good match. This was an awesome match between Pac and Kingston. Both these guys were destroying each other here. Pac, as soon as he got into the ring, he ended up knocking Kingston out of the ring. They went back to the ring, and Pac ended up delivering a pump kick to Kingston's face. Pac then went to the top, delivered a missile drop kick to Kingston. Kingston ended up coming back and delivered a few punches to Pac. He got on the second rope, delivered a knee drop to the back of Pac's head. And after he did that, he ended up booting Pac to the outside. The Bunny ended up getting involved, and she ended up scratching Pac's eyes, which led to Kingston end up taking control of the match. Kingston ended up delivering some chops to Pac, and then an elbow to the back of Pac's neck. Pac came back and delivered some strikes to Kingston, and he was delivering more kicks to Kingston's chest. Kingston came back and then dropped Pac to the mat and delivered some chops into the corner. Kingston went to the top rope, and Pac came back and delivered a kick to Kingston's face. Pac then went to the top, ended up landing a superplex to Kingston and went for the cover. Kingston ended up kicking out. And then at the end of the match, you had Pac end up heading up to the top rope, and he hit the Black Arrow onto Kingston, went for the cover. There you go. Pac ended up winning the match. Post-match, we had Pac end up locking in the Brutalizer to Kingston. The Blade and the Butcher end up coming into the ring, followed by Penta El Zero Miedo and Rey Fenix to take out the Butcher and the Blade. And then we saw Lance Archer. Lance Archer ended up coming out alongside Jake the Snake Roberts. Lance Archer ran out. He ended up clearing the Butcher, the Blade, and Eddie Kingston out of the ring. So Archer told Pac that Pac needs to get on the same page as him. So Archer then ended up heading to the back along with Jake Roberts, and that was that. But overall, this was an awesome match between Pac and Eddie Kingston. Very good, and both of these guys going at it was, awesome to see. They both destroy each other here. So then we had Miro versus Chuck Taylor, Chucky T. Miro, of course, came out alongside Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford. Kip Sabian was shown wearing a mask, and he had this little cardboard cutout of Trent. And then, of course, Chucky T came out alongside Orange Cassidy. And if Chucky T ended up losing the match, he would have to be Miro's butler and do whatever Miro asks him to do until Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford's wedding. But this was a quick match. Chucky T ended up getting the first shot on Miro. He was delivering kicks in the corner to Miro. Taylor then delivered a clothesline, which sent Miro out to the floor. Miro then tried to get back into the ring. He was knocked to the floor by Chucky T. And Chucky T then ended up sending Miro into the side of the stage, a few times as he was continuing to beat Miro up on the outside. We had Chucky T then headed to the top rope. Kip Sabian was there, and he delivered a drop kick to Orange Cassidy. And then Chucky T ended up delivering a kick to Kip Sabian. And at the end of the match, we had Miro deliver the game over to Chucky T. Chucky T ended up tapping out. So there you go. Miro ends up winning the match, and now Chucky T will be Miro's butler until Kip Sabian and Penelope Ford's wedding. So yeah, he would have to be Miro's butler for the next month. But overall, very quick match. So then we went backstage, and Dasha was interviewing Private Party. Matt Hardy was also there. Private Party ended up talking with Dasha about how they signed with Matt Hardy. Matt Hardy is now Private Party's manager. Matt Hardy ended up saying that things are great now, that Private Party are part of the Matt Hardy brand. But Mark Quinn ended up saying that he can't do this, and that he's still bothered as Matt Hardy is making 30% on them. Matt Hardy ended up telling them that they should have read the fine print. So that led to Mark Quinn calling Matt Hardy a money-grabbing carny. So Matt Hardy ended up saying that when Private Party first got to AEW, nobody cared about them. Nobody cared about Private Party. But he was the only one who did care about them. So Matt Hardy ended up telling them, ultimately, when he says jump, they say, how high? And that was how the interview ended. So Matt Hardy, now Private Party's manager. And then we went to the Inner Circle coming out for their New Year's resolutions. So the Inner Circle made their way out. Jericho was on the mic, and he ended up saying that 2021 is going to be a huge year for the Inner Circle. So he ended up saying, who wants to make their resolutions? Go right now. So Jake Hager ended up saying, championships. Championships are a big goal this year. MJF ended up saying that he just wants to strengthen his bonds with the other members. And it's also another one of his resolutions. He said that fat people gotta go. So there you go. MJF, of course, the cockish heel he is, by making fun of fat people. MJF, he just plays the role great. Him being a cockish heel. You just gotta love MJF. He is one of the best heels in the business. So Ortiz ended up saying that he wants to improve a family recipe. So that got some applause and then some boos from the crowd. And I laughed right here because MJF was like, "You're booing food?" which I found that hilarious. So Jericho ended up saying that this will be the year that he and MJF will finally win the World Tag Team Championships. So Santana, he didn't like what Jericho had to say about that. So Santana ended up saying to Jericho that he handpicked Santana and Ortiz to be the tag team in the Inner Circle. So Guevara ended up stopping him, and he ended up saying that Jericho is a little tag team slut. So Guevara ended up wondering what's up with Jericho teaming with a bunch of different people. So MJF ended up saying that Jericho is just trying to do his job. So Guevara ended up telling MJF to shut up. Hager then ended up telling Guevara that MJF is cool. So Hager ended up calming Guevara down. Jericho ended up saying that he liked what Hager and Wardlow did last week in their match. And Jericho was like, maybe they should blow off some steam for bragging rights and to decide who is the official tag team of the Inner Circle. So then Jericho then announced that on next week's Dynamite, it's going to be him and MJF versus Santana and Ortiz versus Sammy Guevara and Jake Hager. And the winner of the match will officially be the tag team of the Inner Circle. So Jericho ended up announcing that. And of course, the segment ended with MJF saying that they are still the Inner Circle and that we're better than you, and you know it. So that was that. But it was a decent segment with the Inner Circle. Although, you saw Guevara, going off there, calling Jericho a little tag team slut. It's just little seeds planted. Because I mentioned it before that, this is little baby seeds planted for Guevara to be turned a babyface. That is my prediction here. What they're doing here with Guevara, going off. They're trying to make him into a babyface, and we're seeing it. So. And then we saw Alex Marvez backstage. He was with the Dark Order. He was wondering what's next for the Dark Order after Brody Lee's passing. Evil Uno ended up telling Marvez that they have to be better people and do everything in Brody Lee's name. Evil Uno went on to say that next week, Hangman and Page should team with the Dark Order. So he had the Dark Order end up pulling Page in, and that they want to talk with Page. They end up asking when Page is going to decide if he's going to be with the Dark Order or not. So John Silver ended up saying next week after the match is a good time. So Page ended up agreeing that that's when he'll let the group know if he will join with them or not. So Silver ended up accepting Page to join, and the group was, of course, like excited as, Page was just, enjoying his drink. And that was that. So. And then we went backstage and we saw Dasha catching up with Kenny Omega, Don Callis, and the Young Bucks, Matt and Nick. Don Callis ended up saying to Dasha that it's fantastic that the band is back together. Of course, last week we saw, the Elite come back, the Bullet Club, end up doing the Too Sweet, where you had the Good Brothers, show up as a surprise. The Impact Tag Team Champions, Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson. Just that ending to night one of New Year's Smash last week with those guys, was awesome. Seeing the Good Brothers, Kenny Omega, and the Young Bucks there doing the Too Sweet was just awesome. So Omega ended up asking if they want to do the Elite entrance. Don Callis ended up saying that the Bucks should get their own entrance and that they should head out on their own. So Kenny Omega ended up making his way out for his entrance. So he had Kenny Omega and the Bucks. It was originally going to be the Bucks, but we had the Good Brothers, Doc Gallows, and Carl Anderson. They ended up teaming with Kenny Omega. So they ended up taking on the Varsity Blondes and Danny Limelight. So before the match got underway, Don Callis, he got on the mic and he ended up announcing Omega's partners, of course, the Good Brothers, the Impact World Tag Team Champions, Doc Gallows, Carl Anderson, and of course, it wasn't the Young Bucks, it wasn't Matt and Nick. So when the Good Brothers made their way out, we saw backstage Dasha was standing with the Bucks and Tony Khan. They were watching from a monitor backstage. And Matt and Nick looked really annoyed at that. So then we had Omega and the Good Brothers end up attacking the Varsity Blondes and Danny Limelight. Omega went after Danny Limelight, and we had the Good Brothers and the Varsity Blondes brawl on the outside. Danny Limelight ended up delivering a boot to Omega and a drop kick. Gallows then got in and laid Limelight out with a big boot. The Varsity Blondes, Griff Garrison, Brian Pillman Jr., ended up coming in, delivered double drop kicks, and then a clothesline to Doc Gallows out of the ring. Brian Pillman Jr. ended up tagging in, delivered some chops to the chest, and Garrison ended up leaping off the second rope and delivered a shot to the arm on Gallows. So Pillman ended up getting in some offense, tagged in Danny Limelight. Danny Limelight did a spinning kick, and he was sent into the ropes. Gallows ended up delivering a kick to the back. Omega ended up planting, his opponent onto the mat. So at the end of the match, you had Kenny Omega and the Good Brothers end up winning. Danny Limelight was tagged in. He ended up eating some shots. He ended up taking a spine buster. Gallows and Henson ended up delivering the Magic Killer to Danny Limelight. Went for the cover. There you go. Omega and the Good Brothers ended up winning the match. Overall, I thought it was a decent match here between these guys. It was cool seeing Gallows and Anderson competing in the match here on Dynamite. They're the Impact, of course, the Impact Tag Team Champions. So post-match, Moxley ended up coming out. He ended up strolling out from the crowd in Daly's place. Moxley got in the ring and he went right at Kenny Omega. And he was able to fight off Gallows and Anderson. So we had Omega, Gallows, and Anderson end up beating down on Moxley. Out came Penta El Zia Miedo and Rey Fenix, and they end up battling it out with Anderson and Gallows. Moxley and Omega end up battling in the middle of the ring. And we had some of the locker room come out to separate them, to separate these guys. Matt and Nick end up running out, and they end up telling Moxley to calm down, to ease up, and to try talking some sense into them. So Phoenix and Penta got into the ring. They hopped into the ring, and they delivered a double super kicks to Matt and Nick. So Omega ended up walking to the back with Don Callis, and the brawl was still happening out there. And so that was that. Oh my God. And now we get to the segment. Oh God. We went to the waiting room with Britt Baker and Reba. Their special guest was Cody Rhodes. And all I gotta say is this segment, the waiting room with Britt Baker, is nothing but a ripoff of A Moment of Bliss, A Moment of Piss. This is AEW's version of A Moment of Piss. So Britt Baker ended up saying that this is the Dynamite debut of the waiting room when it originally started on AEW Dark. So, but after watching this segment, I hope this is only one and done on Dynamite. Keep this on Dark. I mean, I don't watch AEW Dark, so but just keep this on there. Keep the waiting room on Dark. Keep it off of Dynamite. So Britt Baker ended up saying that she has a special surprise for the crowd. She ended up asking them to look under their chairs, which they ended up doing. And there was nothing under their chairs. So Britt Baker ended up laughing. She was like, "Oh, I couldn't resist." So she ended up introducing Cody. Cody ended up coming in, and they were using sparklers for his entrance. Britt Baker ended up congrating Cody about his upcoming child, and of course, Go Big Show, the show that he's on, judging on TBS every Thursday night. So Cody was going to say something, but Britt Baker ended up saying that she has another surprise. She ends up bringing out Jade Cargill. So Jade Cargill ends up taking the mic from Cody, and she ends up saying that nobody gives a damn that Brandy is pregnant. She ends up saying that Cody did Brandy a huge favor, but she and Shaq are tired of waiting. So Cargill ended up saying that she wants an opponent, and says if Brandy ever returns, she's going to beat that ass. So Cargill ended up shoving Cody away. Red Velvet ends up coming in. Cargill ended up wondering who this was. She ends up shrinking down to get on Red Velvet's level. Cargill ended up shoving Red Velvet. Red Velvet ended up slapping her. Cargill slapped her back. And we got a brawl break out. So after that, we see a video of Britt Baker attacking Thunder Rosa, during one of the interviews. So it cut to Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa ended up telling that Britt Baker loves to get in other people's business. Now she's going to have a match very soon. Thunder Rosa ended up saying that Tony Khan had told her that he wants to put them on a big stage and that it takes time to build things up. So Britt Baker end up throwing a fit because she will be having a match against Thunder Rosa. And it's going to take place at Beach Break on February 3rd. So on February 3rd, it's going to be Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. So Britt Baker, like I said, she was throwing a fit. She was like, Tony, you said I wouldn't have this match. So that was how the segment ended. But this sucked. This segment sucked. Like I said, it was AEW's version of a moment of bliss, but only minus Alexa Bliss, but put in Britt Baker. Cody here was wasted. This was a waste of time for Cody. He said nothing in this segment here. I'm like, in his mind, he was probably like, oh, this is a waste of time. But I hope this is a one and done on Dynamite. Keep it on AEW Dark. Keep the waiting room with Britt Baker on AEW Dark. Absolutely, this was, like I said, absolutely fucking terrible. So then we had Jurassic Express versus FTR. We had Jungle Boy come out to Tarzan Boy, which that was awesome to hear. So this was a pretty decent match here. We had Marco Stunt get involved. He tried to avoid FTR. You had Cash Wheeler getting the hold of Marco Stunt. Started beating him up, delivering some chops into the corner. Marco Stunt ended up fighting back. He ended up getting stopped with kicks and punches. So Jungle Boy was able to work his way into the match. He assisted a Hurricanrana by Marco Stunt. FTR was out on the floor. And then we saw both Marco Stunt and Jungle Boy end up flying out onto FTR. At the end of the match, you had FTR end up getting the win, where we had Cash Wheeler end up getting rid of Jungle Boy out on the floor. Marco Stunt was sent into the ring by Cash Wheeler, and they delivered the big rig to Marco Stunt. And there you go. FTR ended up winning the match. But overall, decent match here. Then we had Serena Deeb versus Tyconti. NWA Women's World Championship was on the line. Of course, Tyconti ended up coming out alongside Anna Jay. This was a solid women's match here. Match started off with Conti working over Serena Deeb in an abdominal stretch. And we had Serena Deeb end up reversing into, a move of her own. And she went for the cover. Tyconti ended up kicking out at 2. Conti was going to look for a kick, but it was blocked by Serena Deeb. But Conti ended up dropping Serena Deeb, and she ended up getting a heel hook on Serena Deeb. Deeb was able to reverse that into a chin lock, into a reverse chin lock, and a side headlock takedown. So we had both Conti and Serena Deeb got back up. Conti ended up delivering a shoulder throw on Serena Deeb. Serena Deeb was able to get advantage and get the wrist control on Conti. So at the end of the match, we had Serena Deeb end up winning. Deeb ended up hitting the detox on Tyconti to win the match and retain the NWA Women's World Championship. But overall, solid match. Solid women's match. And then they went over matches that we're going to see next week on Dynamite. Of course, we're going to see the Jericho and MJF versus Santana and Ortiz, Guevara versus Guevara and Hager. The winner will be the official tag team of the Inner Circle. We're also going to be seeing Hangman and Page, Colt Cabana, John Silver, Alex Reynolds. Of course, the Dark Order versus the Hybrid 2 and Chaos Project, and Hangman will give his answer if he's going to join I almost was going to say the Inner Circle, the Dark Order. Page is going to give his answer on joining the Dark Order after the match. Will he join? I have to say no. Page is not going to join the Dark Order. So then for next week, we're going to be seeing Top Flight and Matt Sydal versus Matt Hardy and Private Party. And I expect that's another match that Top Flight's going to lose. That Top Flight and Matt Sydal are going to lose. So Miro is going to give also his update on Chucky T being his new butler. And we're going to be seeing Nyla Rose versus Layla Hirsch. And Jon Moxley will be in action. So that's going to be all taking place on next week's Dynamite. So then we have the main event. Darby Allin versus Brian Cage. TNT Championship on the line. Brian Cage came out alongside Taz, Ricky Starks, and Taz's son Hook. Hobbs couldn't be out there because Taz was on commentary, and he ended up saying that AEW said that only 2 members of Team Taz could be at ringside. So Hobbs couldn't be out there. So the match started off with Darby Allin delivering a low drop kick to Brian Cage. He ended up shoving Cage out of the ring. Hits a awesome suicide dive, which sent Cage into the barricade. Darby Allin ended up going for another suicide dive, but Cage ended up catching him, and he delivered a suplex to Darby Allin on the floor. And there was a point in the match, and I thought this was awesome. Cage gorilla presses Darby Allin. Cage ended up throwing Darby Allin from the ring down to the timekeeper's table. Darby Allin went through the timekeeper's table, which I thought that was awesome. I thought that was awesome seeing Cage end up gorilla pressing Darby Allin and throwing him from the ring down to the timekeeper's table. You know, Darby Allin going through the table. And then Darby Allin was shown bleeding from his head. Cage then ended up lifting Darby Allin up the ramp, and he threw Darby Allin back into the ring. So Darby Allin ended up crawling over to the corner. Cage charged at Darby Allin with a uppercut and a kick and a German suplex. Cage then ended up sending Darby Allin into the corner. So the referee was checking on Darby Allin because it was shown that he couldn't even stand. So then we had Cage end up charging to the corner, and he ended up getting a kick from Darby Allin, but Cage ended up dropping Darby Allin with a TKO. Went for the cover. Darby ended up kicking out at 1. So we had Cage end up doing a triple power bomb. Darby Allin then flipped Brian Cage in the middle finger. Cage power bombed Darby Allin out to the ramp, in which Darby Allin ended up giving Brian Cage another middle finger. So this is how good Darby Allin is. But Cage ended up dragging Darby Allin over, and he ended up hitting a deadlift suplex from the second rope. Cage ended up going for the cover. Darby Allin ended up kicking out at 1. So Cage ended up walking over to the steps, the ring steps. He drags the ring steps to location near the ramp. Cage was on the apron with Darby Allin. Darby Allin ended up getting into the ring, delivered a drop kick, and he ends up biting Brian Cage's hand. And he flopped back on the steps. Brian Cage went back first on the steps. He flopped on the ring steps. Darby Allin ended up going to the top, delivering the coffin drop from the second ropes onto Cage on the steps, which I thought that was awesome. But you had Hook up on the ring apron later on to distract the referee. Starks end up taking out Darby Allin. The lights end up going out, and Sting end up showing up. Sting end up smacking Ricky Starks with the bat. Cage end up going to the second rope. Darby Allin was on his shoulders. And then Darby Allin reversed it with a crucifix bomb on Cage. Went for the cover. And there you go. Darby Allin ends up winning the match, retaining the TNT Championship. Post-match, we had Sting end up getting into the ring. He was staring at Darby Allin. Brian Cage ended up heading out. And Team Taz was shown annoyed on the stage, and we saw the snow falling down on them. So that was how Dynamite ended. But this was an awesome main event. This was a very good match between Darby Allin and Brian Cage. You know, Darby Allin is just that good, in my opinion. He's a great competitor, and you know, he lays the moves out, you know, really good. Love the coffin drop. So Darby Allin, he's one of my favorites, though. But you know, he really deserves that TNT Championship that he carries around. That's, like I said, that's how good of a competitor he is. But overall, that was Dynamite Night 2 of New Year's Smash. Good show. So, aside from that waiting room with Britt Baker segment, take that out, and it was still a good show. But anyways, that's it for the Dynamite review of Night 2 of New Year's Smash. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all later.